Hi. Two issues facing the church are biblical illiteracy and discipleship, referred to by some as a discipleship deficit. Biblical understanding and discipleship are like twin towers that have taken hits over the past 40 years, and they're connected. And though they might look okay, they're melting down from within. While my primary interest is discipleship, the growing biblical illiteracy is deeply connected to discipleship. Biblical illiteracy may have many causes. Our culture, our reliance on secondary sources rather than reading the Bible, the coming of the smartphone, the shortening of the attention span, etc. But I've never heard anyone suggest something as mundane and as imperceptible as the shortening of the Sunday message from 45 minutes to 30 minutes, and thus losing those extra 15 minutes that used to be the standard sermon length in many conservative churches. I came into the fold when the 45-minute message was standard. We thought that was normal. Some of these guys could go an hour, and if it was interesting, we benefited from it. Back then, apparently, we could endure it. We've been told for years now that the American attention span is only 15 to 20 minutes. Now, even if that was true, is that a reason to cave into that kind of mentality? Why don't we fight against that? Look at the class length in senior high schools. 40 to 45 minutes, and then they get a 10-minute break to walk to another class, and they do it all again. In most colleges and universities, a 55-minute lecture is the shortest you'll find. Many classes are over an hour, and some can be 2 hours long. The point is that even our educational system, that is also melting down from within, still thinks our young adults can focus. To do a good job presenting a message expositionally, it takes time to explain the text, the context, the significance of what is happening in that situation, to show lines of correspondence between that and other biblical events or scriptures. And then if the passage is longer, you'll never do a good job in 30 minutes. And then you want to apply the text and give examples. It makes doing a book of the Bible either impractical or superficial or such a long, strung-out event that people won't remember the point when you're done. So again, what difference does 30 minutes versus 45 minutes make in a message? So if you have 100 people in your church listening to your message and each of them has just missed 15 minutes of learning, that amounts to about 25 hours of personal learning lost in your group. Over 50 Sundays, that's 1,250 learning hours lost for your people in your congregation. Now let's say you've been doing this for the past 20 years. That is the loss of 25,000 learning hours for your people alone. Now let's multiply that over 1,000 churches in each state. So 50,000 churches. That is 1.25 billion hours lost of biblical learning. Each state has more than 1,000 churches. The loss was imperceptible and irrevocable. It was that frog in the kettle that Barna told us about years ago, and it wasn't the result of liberalism or a fascist government. We did it, and we welcomed it. And we have taught a generation to look for application and comfort while we've shortened the exposition of our biblical teaching. I'm sure there are other factors in biblical illiteracy, but this one is huge. But actually, is anyone really concerned about biblical literacy except for a few bell ringers? The answer is no. And again, it's all unseen and largely imperceptible, and we don't even know what we've missed. For you preachers who are getting lashed because you preach 45-minute messages, sometimes with bursts up to an hour, take heart. Somehow I don't get the idea that Jesus taught for 30 minutes. Maybe you're a dinosaur, a relic out of a time and culture that has passed you by. Or maybe the Spirit just hasn't let you give up and sink into the malaise that is robbing us of people who have deep biblical understanding and robbing us of disciples of our Lord Jesus Christ who live to follow him into the harvest, reaching out to the lost and making disciples who make disciples. Maranatha.